Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we look at another episode of To Clean House. You must first see the dirt. And again, I just think that is so wonderfully profound that we understand that when we're cleaning house. But when it comes to cleaning our heart, all of a sudden, simple logic goes out the window. Today, we're going to look at the unexamined life. And the first thing I want to do is warn you of a mistake not to make when examining your life. And that is this: examining your life does not mean belittling yourself. It does not mean beating yourself up and telling yourself how bad and how horrible you have been and all the mistakes you've been and reliving the misery. Examining your life is really more about just taking some inventory, looking at your life and where you're at compared to where you want to be, and then pondering the next step to get to where you want to be. You're not going to try to take a giant leap. Now, if you get a giant leap, that's kind of cool. But for the most part, it's just little by little. We keep taking baby steps and we move forward. And after a year, we see a lot of progress, but no single day really saw much. Now, if you walk away from a self exam feeling really terrible, then you did it wrong. Don't know exactly what you did wrong, but you ought not to feel terrible. It's really just looking at the map and going, okay, this is where I am in the journey, and then looking up where you want to be, and then seeing the next mile, the next block, the next stretch of the journey. So if you walk away looking forward to the next step and you've kind of identified what you think you need to do next, then you're pretty much on the right track. That's a real good indication. So our Bible verse is 2 Corinthians 13:5, where he tells us to examine ourselves. And we understand that a lot of folks, bless their heart, they say all the right Christianese words and they go through the Sunday motions and they never really get there. The church at Sardis, that's Revelation chapter 3, verse 1. They had a reputation that they were alive, that Jesus said they were dead. And the Laodiceans, that's the lukewarm church, they thought they were doing great. And in verse 17 of Revelation 3, Christ said, no, you're naked and don't even know it. We don't want to fall into that category, obviously. We want to be that group that looks at ourselves and can look back and see where we have been and how far we've come, and we can still look forward to see, yep, there's still some journey we need to take, but we're making progress, we're growing. And that right there, to me, that is the satisfaction. So don't give in to the self-deception. And I think that's easy for some people. It's just a form of self-denial. Some people, they're just not comfortable yet with Romans 3:23. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. They have this I don't know, this need to feel perfect, and it's not. I mean, none of us are. We've blown that so long ago. Perfect's not even on the radar anymore. And the problem with pretending that everything is perfect is it's just a house of cards. It's going to collapse sooner or later. And then you get into playing like the definition game and redefining circumstances to placate yourselves. And really, it's just developing a placebo effect. No, don't do that. You can't get real progress. It's kind of like going on a diet and pretending there are no calories in the cake and ice cream you're eating. I mean, you can pretend that if you want, but your body knows what's going on. And the empty calories are not going to help the diet. And then be aware of gaslighting yourself. It's kind of funny. We hate it. We hate it when somebody tries to gaslight us. But then we'll gaslight ourselves and think we're pretty clever. No, don't fall for that. Now, I don't know why it is entirely that people avoid self-exam, because this is what Christians do. I do get that it can be uncomfortable. Sure, it can be uncomfortable. Honestly, looking in the mirror of God's word, as James would encourage us to do in James chapter 1, no, it's not always entertaining. But if we're trying to be holy as God is holy, then it's always going to be productive. It's always going to help us get traction and help us move forward. And if that is our heart's deepest desire, is to really draw nearer to God, as James 4:8 would tell us to do, then it is satisfactory. Again, don't like having to see where I dropped the ball, but I want to learn why I dropped the ball so I don't do it again and again and again. And I get it. Other things are way more entertaining in the short term. It's a lot more entertaining to sit around and scroll through Facebook for 30 minutes or look at dumb videos on TikTok or whatever a person happens to be into. The problem is, and I'm not against TikTok entirely, there's some stuff on there we don't need to look at, and some stuff that's just mindless entertainment. And now and then there's some good stuff on there. I'm not against it. I'm just saying, how often have you got through with TikTok and walked away and thought, yeah, I'm closer to God now? Now, I got to be careful. I don't want to take your entertainment away from you. I think we all need a little entertainment. But don't avoid the self exam. This is part of Christianity. This is part of growing up. This is part of being tough. And that's what we want to be, spiritually tough. So I want you to think of yourself as a spiritual athlete. And if you're going to be a really good spiritual athlete, then you need to know the truth if you want to excel. That's just, there's no way around it. You know, some people pretend that they can sing and everybody knows they can't sing. Now, they may be able to sing if they would listen to somebody and face the truth and take some training. You're going to be great. You got to face the ugly parts too. And then, of course, some people just don't want to excel. Some people want credit as though they do excel. Some people want the trophy without the sacrifice. They want the trophy without the training. They want the trophy without the work. And I blame part of that on this crazy political correct, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings mindset nowadays that has just gone over the top. I mean, back when I was a kid in the 1960s, and I know that's a long ways ago, but back when I was a kid, there was a first place trophy, a second place trophy, a third place trophy, and then there was a try harder next time. The idea of giving everybody a participation trophy in the 1960s would have got you laughed off the stage. No way. There was a competition, and the best got rewarded, and those who didn't receive a reward were encouraged to try harder next time. So what we do is we learn to bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. That's 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 5. But if we're going to do that, then we have to learn to be brutally honest with ourselves and what we're thinking. Now, let me clarify again. I didn't say belittle yourself. I didn't say kick yourself to the curb. I didn't say insult yourself. But I did say be brutally honest with yourself. When you're wrong, when you take the step wrong, when you do the move wrong, just look at yourself and go, that's wrong. I ain't going to do that again. I'm going to do better next time. Learn and move forward. That's not belittling yourself. That's learning. That's progress. So really, really be careful. I definitely don't want you belittling yourself and hating yourself and thinking, trashy thoughts about yourself. If you want to excel, then you have to know where you took missteps, where you failed, so you can improve your game. And if you'll keep doing that over and over and over, you will improve your game. But it takes time. And this is an American problem, impatience. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself time. Take inventory of where you're at. And if you're on square one, that's cool. Everybody's got to start on square one. And if you've been in the game a while and you're quite a few squares into the game, that's fine too. But give yourself time. And it's easier to move to some squares, the next square, than it is others. Sometimes the challenge is pretty steep. And sometimes it's pretty easy. When you get an easy one, rejoice. When you get a tough one, find that inner determination. Now, all of this process is generally really safe if you'll just use some, I call it common sense and your self expectation. Don't expect yourself to jump from square one all the way to the end in one leap. In fact, don't expect yourself to jump from square one to square three in one leap. You need to cover square two, and you need adequate time at each stage to learn, grow, develop, get established, and then move on to the next phase. So use common sense. Push yourself wisely, but don't push yourself in a destructive way. Now, as far as facing the truth within you and the hidden secrets that other people don't know, and maybe your deep angers and maybe your temptations that are just hidden in the place of your heart that nobody can see. That's okay. You don't have to put them on the public stage. I don't think you ought to, as we used to say, do your laundry in public. But I do want to assure you that God already knows every little secret in your heart. He knows every dirty thought that you have ever had. He knows the ones that no one else suspects. He already knows. So as you're trying to look squarely into the mirror of God's Word and reflect in the light of God's Word, you are never, ever going to expose something that God didn't already know was there. God is never going to look at you in surprise and shock as though you revealed something He did not know. So what I like about this whole process is it's all totally private. It's between me and God 99.9% of the time, unless I choose to have a conversation about something in my heart with somebody else. And I would suggest that you be very careful about that because not everybody can be a trusted counselor. So I back up and I look at it and I go, well, life's all pretty much training. It's pretty much a perpetual improving process. And so I look at it and I evaluate. I go, okay, where am I? And what's my next step? And if you don't know what your next step is, I think it's a pretty simple process. I love the way the subconscious works. Just ask yourself in 3 or 4 different forms here a positive question. What's my next step? What can I do to be better? Is there something I need to eliminate from my life in order to be better? Now, the trick here is to ask those constructive questions. Ask those questions that will move you forward. If you ask questions like, why am I such a stupid goof? And your mind's going to give you an answer to that one too, and that's not going to build you up. So don't ask the negative questions. Do not ask questions that tear you down. Ask the questions that will help move you forward. What could I do better? What could I do more of? What could I do less of that's holding me back? Where do I need to make a change? Look for it. Pray about it. You'll find some answers. And the moment you start getting answers, don't discredit them. If you've been sitting there pondering, what can I do more of? What could I do better? Where have I been lacking? Where can I step into a new realm of life? And your mind pops an answer into your head, and you go, no, 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 that's not it. And then you're just going to shut the process down. If you had the thought, it came from you. You need to make a note, and you need to contemplate it. So be there. Look into your heart and be looking for that next step. Now, also watch out for the temptation to focus on others. Sure, we help other people. That's Hebrews 10:24. We're supposed to stir up love and good works. But remember Philippians 2:12, you work out your own salvation. And Paul said in 1 Corinthians 9:27, he disciplined his own body and brought it into subjection, lest after he taught others, he himself would be disqualified. So you really want to be careful there that even though you're giving other people really great information, the real challenge here is, are you using it yourself? In the end, the only person you can really change is you. Yes, you can encourage people, you can motivate people, you could yell and scream and intimidate people if you want to be ugly. But in the end, the only person you can really affect a change in is yourself. And that is your primary focus. I hope that doesn't sound selfish, but that is your primary focus. Again, go back to Philippians 2:12, 1 Corinthians 9:27. So I hope to help others. Absolutely. I teach others. I spend a lot of time volunteering with people and giving them time. But ultimately, I understand their change is entirely up to them. And my change is up to me. And I don't know about you, but I find that pretty optimistic that change rests within my hands and my own determination. So let's close it for the day. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Just go ahead and put them in the comment section and we'll build whatever we build. I do believe that together we can make a difference. And as always, I hope you have a great day.